First, a bit of an excuse. I stupidly had some muscular pain not so long ago, and I went to get some shots, and they're dead in my right side. So if I slur a bit, it's real. It's not made up. Although I use it that way sometimes. Look, I'd like to first distinguishing guests, people of Garma. A lot of people sort of turn around and say, too much Gumatj. We say it's never too much Gumatj. And if you just turn to your screens a bit, that's not on. Oh, here we go. Now, I showed that because a lot of people are talking about the rockets that NASA launched and our involvement, and I'm proud to say there was a lot of involvement. Not to outdo the managers and the NASA people, because they were scientists and we certainly weren't astronauts, but we did a lot of work on the ground. But the reason I put that up first is just to mention how we think differently. My good chairman now, Women's Corporation, wrote Joey in a Pingu on the tail fin. Sean wrote too much Gumatj. I wrote, wherever this lands, check if there's any bauxite. That was the start of our NASA campaign. So what have we achieved over the last 12 years of operation? And are we successful? And I ask myself that every single day. Look, being a commercial Indigenous company, in the true sense, is never going to be easy. Balancing culture, commercial commitments, it can sometimes be a contradiction. And I say that because, and I'll give you an example here. You know, quite often we tendered for a contract. Now and again we won, and hallelujah, we were so happy with winning a contract. We got our guys trained up, we got dressed, we were proud, their chests were out, their backs were straight, and off we went. The very next day, though, nobody showed up. Now, you may ask why, and I forgot a cardinal rule, is that is culture and time don't necessarily combine with contracts. And that was my first lesson in dealing with commercial reality. I think, and I have to take some notes, sorry, I'm getting a bit old for this. You know how many Garmas I've done here? Anyone know? Yeah, I know you know. All of them. 23 or something, tell you. Anyway, for instance, traditional funerals, I'll give you an example, can involve hundreds of family members. But what most people don't know is they can last for weeks and weeks, and that takes a toll on commercial businesses, and we had to take that into consideration. We value ourselves, and Gumatj particular, and the board have always given me support in able to try to balance the need of economic independence, if you like, but I had to have enough flexibility that I could go out commercially and win the contracts. It really wasn't easy to do. The more we expanded into the commercial world, our rules and regulations that exist out there, our mining rules and building codes and government rules, made it extremely difficult for non-government organisations, for Indigenous corporations to actually do. And I've got to say, a lot of Indigenous corporations gave up, right? They would wait for government grants. And I'm proud to say we never did. We kept pushing. It was hard, and we lost a fair bit of money by doing it. But we attempted and we drove on. I think the question comes back to, are we successful as an Indigenous company? Look, I would say no, but we're getting much, much better at it. We've still got a long way to go with this. I'm going to show you some slides at the moment of where we are, and this is in the last 12 years. Remember, we started from zero. So cattle farm, sorry to mention forestry, but it's our lifeblood. Forestry, sawmill, woodwork, ground maintenance, real estate, mechanical services, convenience stores, nurseries, shop coffee, waste management. Sounds easy, but waste management, what does that mean? That means for the whole Nhulunbuy, all of Yirrkala, all of Gunyagara, it's a very big task, but we managed to get it. And cross-cultural events. In the pipeline, this is for Gumatj Corp itself, tourism. Look, it's not a big hitter with us at the moment, but we're working on it. Boat charters, yes, if the guys bring them back at night and not go fishing on their own. Boat maintenance, yacht and culture centre. That's just to kick off. What we have got now, though, is our Gulkula mining. As you can see by the screen, look, we're doing around 2.4 million tonnes of bauxite we've moved. But more importantly, $16.4 million of investment went into that Gulkula mine. It's proven, if you like, about 120 odd people were put through the training course. All those people are now working in different organisations, not even our own, some of them. We've got around about 30 odd %, but I mean, even, I hate to say this, but Rio even poached quite a few of our guys. But that's good. I mean, anything of advancement was good. The other side of Gulkula mining is we do the batch plant, we do nursery, we do mechanical and able to support civil maintenance. And we're now starting to work on a quarry. Delta Reef Gumatj, we bought that a couple of years ago. Why? We needed housing that we could afford. We weren't relying on government to build the houses, we built them. The synergies in that is because we had the concrete, because I had the block works, because I had the timber, I could afford to build reasonable housing. But Delta Reef itself, apart from the cement works, the block works, the demolition and blasting, concrete works, 77 employees in that company alone we built up from taking a gamble of buying a very small company and building the assets behind it. 4D Burrow, people ask, what is 4D Burrow? Look, for a while I didn't even know. 51% of a survey company we bought. We started off with not knowing what we were going to do with it. Now we have the Rio Tinto contract in Go. We're working with Rio Tinto in Weipa, Kakadu, Wilchelsimba mine, and also we're now developing new offices in Cairns, business and federal and NT government. Mining energy projects, Sun Cable, lithium, I still don't understand whether it is, South 22 and Beetaloo Basin. That's starting off from a gamble of saying, will it work? And it has, and I'm proud to say it has very well. Mungo Resources Centre, it deals with their youth and their community responsibility. Look, I don't think a week goes by where we don't, as a company, contribute back into that community. We have to. And we have to make sure that it's not reliant on handouts, it's not reliant on government grants, it has to be reliant on the own people, and that's what we've managed to achieve in a very short time. Nariel, it took me a while to work this one out. The 99-year lease, why is it important to us? We didn't want to take anything away from the Northern Land Council. We certainly didn't want to take anything away from governments, but we knew if you want to make decisions on your land, you've got to have the ability to make decisions on your land. And that's what we did. By having the 99-year lease, we had our own board that made the decisions on commercial enterprises or private enterprises, land leases or houses. Our board made that decision, not outside. And that proved to us that we could further that even in growth. I guess, for my mind, building 17 or now more, 20-odd houses ourselves that belong to our people and that were handed over to our workers, by now developing industry within that yellow-green line you see around there, proved to us that we need to further that. We need to get more and more ability where Indigenous people have the right to make their own decisions. Joint ventures, ELA, that's the rocket people, Liberty Industries, Sea-Swift, Neil and Sodexo. We're joint ventures in most of those. I'll just go into one at the moment, which is Liberty. As you can see by there, we invested $3.2 million of equipment just recently to help pull down the plant. Gulkula was quite happy that we were pulling it down. But the thing was, the synergies in this is that you don't buy equipment to do a job. You buy equipment to say, what else can I use it for? So everything we've gone into, we've said, if you buy a water truck and you buy a moggy, and we bought excavators, what do I use after the job's finished? And we're into forestry, we're into rebuild. So we just linked all our gear so that it can be rolled onto the next project and the next project and the next project. We are not big enough to just stand alone, buy one or two items and then do what with them. It's important to get synergies in, and I call it, if you like, sustainability. If you don't have sustainability, we're creating a vortex for ourselves. We have to be able to get people to understand that if we don't link this together and we don't have sustainability for the Indigenous people, what will happen is that companies like, even ourselves, mining companies do eventually stop. But if we don't have something after that, if we don't get past that nix of no work, we fail. We fail our own people. I guess, for my part, most of you are probably aware that Rio will be leaving within the next, decade, I would say, and all mines do. But the impacts for us are more told. Their impacts will be that when they leave, the town will not naturally grow. So we have to find ways of making that grow, because we want to maintain the services. We want to maintain the airport. We want to maintain so much that we're so used to for the last 52 years. And if it goes, like most mining companies, when they pull out, that's what happens. The towns implode. So we're working to go against that. I think, if you like, the key one for me, though, talking about enterprise is one thing, is what the traditional people have been used to for the last 50 years, and that's statutory royalties. Now, when that stops and mining royalties stop, there's a massive implosion that's going to, because people have been used to that for culture. And I say that with hand on heart. The problem is you can't afford to fly people in now from all over the place when you don't really have that money. So we've got to somehow balance it. And luckily, I've got a very, very strong board that supports what we do. And look, honestly, as a CEO, I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm knocking on the door all the time and saying, well, look, we need to work together to sort this out, because come when Rio stops, it will stop. And we need to be ready for that. And that is not a long time, people. So where do we go from here? For me, there's an old saying, contracts plus relationship plus trust equals partnerships. And partnerships is what I think, will extend our life past closure. So we're looking at ports. Why ports? We need shipping. We need stevedoring. We need freight. Environmental. We need to do monitoring and learn to do rehab. Why rehab? People always say, why do you want to get into rehab? Because that helps us with forestry. If we understand how to rehab, we can grow trees. And trees are sustainable if you keep going, but you've got to know about it. Aquaculture, fishing, servicing vessels, road maintenance, forestry, construction industries, power, solar. And of course, and I take my hat off to the board here again, space. Let's just talk about space for a minute. We had a lot of negativity on space, and a lot of negativity was coming from my own people. Where's it going to lead to us? And I said, I don't know. But what I do know is that if we don't take chances on this, if we don't try, we will never get anywhere. Sometimes you've got to go step into the unknown and take a chance. But again, and I take this on Jawa's shoulders, he helped me push this through. We walked the land, we dozed the land, we cleared everything. We never asked for payment. We just wanted it to work. The more important thing is that it wasn't for ELA. It wasn't even to say it was just Gumatj. What we wanted to do was say, listen, this is for Australia. NASA has never launched from here since late 40s, I think, or 50s. And it was important that we not only made it happen, but it was successful. And even though there was still, even to the day we launched, I was sweating because it was about 25 minutes late or something. But it did launch, and all 3 launches went well, and everything was recovered, even the fins. Except mine. Mine's still buried out there on the bauxite somewhere, but I will find it. I think I'm going to hold questions, if I may, until Kelly's spoken. and then we'll do it as joint. And Joe will help me answer some of these. But I do ask you one thing, don't be frightened of asking me questions. Everyone knows I love questions, and I love hard questions, as long as you like the hard answers.
Do you?
Thank you.